G'day and welcome to the Jade Rat today. Today I thought we'd do something that I haven't done in a while, which is a tag, and we'll be doing the classics book tag that I wasn't tagged in, but I'm going to do it anyway because it was one of those ones where you feel like you're watching this video or reading this video, you're tagged in, and I was like, well, alright, I'll do it. So here we go. Question 1. An overhyped classic you didn't really like. And for this, I'm going to go with Fiesta, The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. And this book I hated. And this is actually the version I use. It's like a secondhand copy that I got from uni. And I really hated it. I hated the characters, except for like that one Matador guy at the end. He was alright. He was cool. But like everybody was annoying and terrible, and I hated that you couldn't tell who was talking. So like it'd just be like, hey, how you going? Yeah, great. Okay, cool. Do you want to go somewhere? Let's get drinks. And you're like, well, who's saying all of this? Like, I don't know. Anyway, so that's it. Ernest Hemingway, Fiesta, or The Sun Also Rises. Number 2. A favourite time period to read, and I'm going to say for the most part it sort of spans from like the start of the great age of piracy to like whenever the Industrial Revolution was, maybe mid 1800s, so about 1650 to 1850. I'd say I generally tend to go towards those like publications in that era. However, I do really like a lot of sort of medieval works as well, provided I can understand them. Like if the language is a bit confusing or hard, I don't really like enjoy it. But that's about it. So mainly medieval stuff and the 200 years from the great age of piracy, so 1650 to about 1850 is generally where I tend to draw towards. Number 3, favourite fairy tale. I don't actually have one because I'm not really into fairy tales. I was when I was younger, but then sort of like the Disney hype of it and like princesses and all that like sort of soured me towards fairy tales. But if I had to pick one, I'd probably pick something really chill, like Princess and the Pea, because I like sleeping, or like Rapunzel, but only the part where they steal the lettuce, because like that's funny, and then everything else just kind of goes downhill from there. So yeah, I like the relaxed ones. If they get too dark or morbid, I'm like, but otherwise, like I like the happy ones. Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Yeah. Next, number 4. What is the most embarrassing classic you haven't read yet? Like most of them. I haven't actually read a lot of classics, but I'm gonna go with. Let me see if I can find it for you. I'm gonna go with Don Quixote. Don Quixote is... I actually started reading this, but I didn't finish it, and it's very funny, and I should finish it again, and I feel bad that I haven't, because everybody says it's amazing, and I read a little bit of it. There you go, you can see my bookmark, and it was very funny and very interesting, so we gotta get back to that. Next, top 5 classics you would like to read soon. So coming back to it, we have Don Quixote by Cervantes. We have Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. I actually have like 3 versions of this book in different publications, so I'd like to read all 3 publications. So there's this version, Dover Thrift, the Tolkien version, and there's also a Penguin Classics version that I like to read and sort of see how they change. And going on with the medieval theme, I have, and I started a little bit, I have to do Le Morte d'Arthur by Sir Thomas Malory. Part 2, I read part 1 and I did a little short review on it, but part 2 is what I got to do. And I think that's 3 already. And then the other 3 or 2 is the D'Artagnan Romances, I think they're called, which is the Three Musketeers, Man in the Iron Mask, and 20 Years After by Alexander Dumas. And I'd like to read it because I did see the BBC series and I really enjoyed it, and I should read it because it's pretty well known. Next, favorite modern book series based on a classic. So favorite, I don't actually read a lot of books that are derived off of other books. Well, I recently purchased some that are based off King Arthur, like the modern sort of Arthurian fantasy spin-offs, but because I haven't read Le Morte d'Arthur and I like to go in order, I can't really tell you my favourites for that. But I do have this sort of cheesy paperback novel, and it's called Skull and Bones, and it is actually a prequel to this. Oh wait, it's upside down. To this, which is Treasure Island. And I read Treasure Island as a 19-year-old, and I feel like I should have read it earlier, but so I loved Treasure Island, and I actually read this book before reading Treasure Island, and I didn't know that it was a prequel. And well, it's sort of like a what if Captain Flint, the actual human Captain Flint, not the parrot, was alive, and Long John Silver was like the quartermaster or the first mate of his pirate crew, and then like there was a mutiny, and somehow Long John Silver became captain, and it sort of goes through that, and it was very interesting. I like pirates, so I was like, yeah, sure. Next, favorite movie or TV version based on a classic. So everybody goes for like 1995 Pride and Prejudice, or 1990, I think it's 1995 or 97, Sense and Sensibility, and they're all good. But I'm gonna go with something different. I'm gonna go with Merlin, and as a TV series, and it's not true to all of the parts of the Arthurian legendarium, but it is absolutely enjoyable to watch, and where they reference original things is really great. And another one that's sort of based off of that is Guy Ritchie's King Arthur: Legend of the Sword, and I really enjoyed that movie, and I wish I saw it in cinema, but I instead saw it like last year on Stan, which is like Australia's Netflix. And I loved it. I love the sort of spin on it, but there's also that sort of true homage to the source material, and I really like the way that it sort of incorporates all of these aspects of like Arthurian legend, but also sort of making it like a cool fantasy thing, where instead of it being a bit like sort of stuffy and a bit outdated. So that's it. Number 8. Worst classic to movie adaptation. I don't know. I generally tend to enjoy most of them because I haven't actually read the classics that are associated with them, or they're based off. But what's a really bad one? Oh, Leonardo DiCaprio's Romeo and Juliet. In fact, yeah, actually, because Romeo and Juliet, the source material is horrendous. So, or at least I hated it. So, yeah, nah, it wasn't good. We saw it at school. I wasn't a fan. And another one that I just remembered, because I was going to say that a lot of people hate the 2005 Pride and Prejudice, but that was the first version I saw, so I thought it was okay. But the first version of Pride and Prejudice that I saw was the cheesy Bollywood version, called Bride and Prejudice, and it was, from memory, real bad. So that's takes the cake. That's the worst one. Okay, and I feel bad for everybody that had to sit through that movie because I wasn't a fan. Next, Number 9, favorite editions you'd like to collect. Well, I'm not really in a collector edition kind of person, and I like these like crappy paperback versions that you can just sort of and read through, and you don't need to worry about ruining them as they always do. Like all of the books that I somehow do, they somehow get ruined. But I do like these sort of fancy gilded versions, embossed versions of books, which is, this one is Lamort Darthan. It's all shiny and it's got like the gold. But I also like, and I think it's interesting when publishers put in a lot of effort and they sort of go through and make these lovely designs for that are like sort of sets designed to ease you into a particular author. So here you can see in the orange sticker, it says here it's like the works that Tolkien read and that he was inspired by to create Lord of the Rings. And I like that they put this effort into creating these sort of almost tribal style, simplistic artworks that sort of reflect the thing that they're inspiring. And then you can see it like reflected here in the Silmarillion, like how he goes and does the symbolism for it, and it's sort of, you know, there's a similar sort of style to it, and I like that. I like how they stay true to an author's origins and inspirations. And finally, an underhyped classic you'd like to recommend. So there's a lot of and a lot of people tend to read Pride and Prejudice as Jane Austen's sort of first one, but I actually enjoyed Sense and Sensibility much more, and I think it was because it had less crazy or irrelevant characters. Like the other sisters, like, they don't count, right? It's like Jane, Lizzie, and Lydia are like the only ones you'd really need to know. The other two can like go away. So here is sort of like streamlined, and it's less crazy satirical. Like this is sort of like, hey, we're trying to be serious, but we're still making fun of the era. So I would recommend Sense and Sensibility, and then you can watch the movie later, which is a good one. And also a book that is underhyped, I think, in Western audiences, but like ridiculously, I was going to say overhyped, but it's pretty good. Here we are. Overhyped or really well loved. Like most people love this story, and it's called the Ramayana. And it is an epic, originally written in poetry form. And it's about a king, and without all of the religious connotations that most Hindus would have with it. It's about a righteous king who gets exiled, and then he has to go through these problems, and then his wife gets kidnapped, and there's a big war, and then he saves everybody, and it's all good. And it's sort of, it's a lovely epic, and it is on a similar scale to like Beowulf, where it's about like the hero, and it's all like exciting, and they go through the jungle and fight the monsters. It's really exciting. So if you are not really familiar with sort of Hindu or Indian-based literature, I would recommend the Ramayana. Even if you can find a abridged, like sort of English version like this, it's tiny, so you can read it pretty fast. And this is a Penguin edition too. So that's it for this tag. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to subscribe or like or comment, whatever, do so. If there's a tag that you'd like me to do, yeah, tell me down below, and I will see you next time. Thank you for watching. Have a good one. See ya.